I drive freight trains through the Appalachian corridor, 22 years on the rails. The night I'm about to describe happened last November, somewhere between Charleston and Bluefield. It was the night I learned that some doors, once opened, seal your fate forever. My name is Marcus. I operate solo freight runs, the kind nobody wants anymore. The old mountain routes where tunnels swallow you for miles and cell towers don't exist. That Wednesday, I was 3 hours behind schedule. A rock slide had forced a detour through an abandoned spur line. The kind of track that appears on no modern map, cutting through valleys so deep the sun never fully reaches bottom. My locomotive crawled forward at 20 miles per hour, headlight barely cutting the fog that rose from the forest floor. The radio had gone silent 2 hours back, just dead air and the rhythmic clack of wheels on ancient rails. That's when I saw her standing between the tracks ahead, illuminated in my spotlight like a ghost. She wore a hospital gown, barefoot, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold. Her hair hung wet and dark around her face, and even from a distance, I could see her shaking. Every protocol said, "Keep going. You don't stop on abandoned track for anyone." But her eyes found mine through the windshield, and something in them looked like my daughter. I hit the brakes. The train groaned and shuddered, taking a quarter-mile to stop. When I climbed down from the cab, the fog was so thick I could barely see 10 feet ahead. She stood motionless where I'd first seen her, not approaching, just watching me with those hollow eyes. "Miss, you okay? How did you get out here?" My voice echoed strangely in the valley. "My car went off the road. Back there." She pointed vaguely into the darkness. "I've been walking for hours." Her voice was soft, almost childlike, but there was something underneath it, something older. "You're freezing. Come on, let's get you in the cab. I'll radio for help once we're back in range." She moved toward me then, her bare feet making no sound on the gravel between the tracks. Up close, I could see her hospital gown was torn, stained with something dark at the hem. Her skin was so pale it seemed almost luminous in the fog, and her fingernails were cracked and blackened. "Thank you." The words came out like a sigh. "You don't know what it's like out there alone." I helped her up into the locomotive, the heat from the engine compartment washing over us both. She settled into the jump seat, curling into herself, and I noticed she was no longer shivering. "I'm Marcus. What's your name?" I asked, releasing the brake and feeling the train begin to move again. "Sarah." She said it without looking at me, her eyes fixed on something beyond the windshield. The silence that followed was heavy, oppressive, the kind that makes you want to fill it with words. "There's a maintenance station about 30 miles up. We'll get you sorted there." She turned her head slowly, and in the dim glow of the instrument panel her face looked different. The delicate features seemed sharper somehow, the bone structure more pronounced beneath the skin. "Do you believe in curses, Marcus?" Her voice had changed, deepened slightly. "Can't say I've thought much about it." I kept my eyes on the track, unease crawling up my spine. My grandmother believed. She said some families carry darkness in their blood, passed down like heirlooms. The temperature in the cab seemed to drop despite the heater running full blast. She said when the darkness calls, you have two choices, fight it or feed it. I glanced at her then, and my blood turned to ice. Her eyes were no longer brown. They were amber, reflecting the instrument lights like an animal's. Her eyes were no longer brown. They were amber, reflecting the instrument lights like an animal's, Sarah. My voice came out as a whisper. She smiled, and her teeth looked too long, too sharp. "That's not my real name." The words came out with a growl underneath them. Her body began to convulse, bones cracking audibly in the confined space. I lunged for the emergency brake, but her hand shot out with impossible speed and gripped my wrist. The strength in her fingers was inhuman, crushing. I felt my bones grinding together. Her face was stretching, the jaw elongating into something that belonged on no human skull. The hospital gown tore as her body expanded, muscles bulging beneath skin that sprouted dark fur. I screamed, a raw sound of pure animal terror that echoed off the metal walls. She threw her head back and howled, a sound that made my eardrums ring and my vision blur. The transformation took maybe 30 seconds, but I lived a lifetime in each one. What sat in my jump seat was no longer remotely human. It was a wolf the size of a bear, its shoulders hunched in the low ceiling of the cab. Amber eyes burning with intelligence and hunger locked onto mine. I yanked the emergency brake with my free hand. The train shrieked and bucked. We were thrown forward as the wheels locked, sparks flying from the rails outside. The creature lost its grip on me, and I scrambled toward the cab door. Its clawed hands swiped at my back, shredding through my jacket and the flesh beneath. Pain exploded across my spine, hot and immediate. I fell through the door onto the gravel below, the impact knocking the wind from my lungs. The creature dropped down beside me with a heavy thud that shook the ground. I rolled, gasping, my back screaming in agony. The fog swirled around us, and that's when I heard them, answering howls from the forest on both sides of the track. Close, too close. The creature standing over me tilted its head back and called again. 4 more emerged from the tree line, massive shapes materializing from the mist like demons from smoke. They formed a semicircle around me, cutting off any escape back down the tracks. I was in the center of a kill circle. The largest one, a male with scars across its muzzle, stepped forward and sniffed the air. The one that had been Sarah moved aside, deferring to this new arrival. He was the alpha. I could see it in how the others watched him, waiting for his signal. His eyes met mine, and I saw something there that was worse than hunger. Recognition, intelligence, hatred. He knew exactly what I was thinking, could taste my fear like blood in the water. My hand found a chunk of railroad tie that had splintered off the track. It wasn't much, but it was something solid, something real. The alpha's lips curled back in what might have been a smile. He was giving me permission to try. This was sport to him. I swung the wood with everything I had, catching him across the snout. His head barely moved. He didn't even blink. Then he lunged. I dove under the train, crawling frantically between the massive wheels. Claws scraped against metal behind me, sparks flying as he tried to reach under. I emerged on the other side and ran toward the forest. My back was on fire, blood soaking through my shirt, but adrenaline pushed me forward. The trees closed around me, branches whipping my face in the darkness. Behind me, I heard them coming, not hurrying. They didn't need to hurry. I was prey in their territory, and they knew exactly how this would end. The ground sloped sharply downward, and I half ran, half fell through the undergrowth. My boot caught on a root, and I went down hard, tumbling through dead leaves and mud. When I stopped rolling, I was at the edge of a steep ravine. Below me, maybe 40 feet down, I could hear rushing water. The pack emerged from the trees, 5 dark shapes surrounding me again. The alpha approached slowly, savoring the moment. I looked down at the churning water below, then back at those burning amber eyes. It wasn't even a choice. I jumped. The fall seemed to last forever, the wind rushing past my ears. I hit the water like hitting concrete, the impact driving all air from my lungs. The current grabbed me immediately, dragging me under. The cold was so intense, it felt like burning, like every nerve ending was screaming at once. I clawed toward the surface, my lungs burning for air. My head broke through, and I gasped, sucking in water and air together. The current slammed me into a boulder, and I felt something crack in my chest. I grabbed onto a fallen tree branch, my fingers barely holding on. Above me, on the ravine edge, the pack paced back and forth. They didn't follow. They just watched. The alpha stood motionless at the center, his eyes never leaving me. He lifted his muzzle to the moon I couldn't see through the fog and howled. It wasn't a hunting cry. It was a promise. The current ripped me away from the branch, carrying me downstream into the darkness. I don't remember much after that. Just cold, pain, and the sound of water. I washed up on a sandbar 3 miles downstream, barely conscious. A hiking group found me at dawn, hypothermic and delirious. The official story is that I jumped from a moving train after seeing something on the tracks. Possible psychotic break from isolation and fatigue, the railroad psychiatrist wrote. They retired me on medical disability, post-traumatic stress disorder with paranoid features. The scars on my back healed into thick ridges that ache when storms are coming. But the real wound is the one nobody can see. I live in the city now, 7th floor apartment, triple locks on the door. No forests within 20 miles, in any direction. But every full moon, I hear it. Faint, distant, maybe just in my mind. That howl, that promise. He's still out there, in those mountains, in those forgotten valleys. And he remembers the one that got away. Some nights I wake up convinced I smell wet fur and taste copper in the air. I check the locks obsessively, knowing they wouldn't matter if he decided to collect his debt. The therapist says it's trauma manifestation, the mind playing tricks. But I know the truth. I'm not haunted by what happened. I'm haunted by what's waiting to happen. They gave me a settlement check and a prescription for nightmares. Neither one helps when the moon is full and the howling starts. If you work the rails, or the highways, or any lonely place where desperation makes you kind, remember that not everyone asking for help wants to be saved. Some are hunting, some are bait. And once you stop, once you let them in, the pack knows you're sent forever. I used to believe in helping strangers. I used to believe in second chances. Now I believe in locked doors and staying alert until sunrise. The railroad says I'm retired, but I know the truth. I'm not retired. I'm marked. And somewhere in those mountains, under each full moon, he remembers. The Alpha remembers. If this story made you tighten your grip on whatever keeps you safe at night, then you felt what I feel every day. Subscribe before the next moon rises. Stay in the light, and whatever you do, don't stop for anyone on the forgotten roads, because some debts are written in blood, and the pack always collects.